2 and 1. We're live. How are we doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Carlos. Good morning, Patty Pasley.
Morning.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us this morning, Patty Pasley. So good to see you.
The pleasure is mine.
Always good to see you. Always good to see you. Carlos, Patty Pasley is a dear good friend of mine from multiple decades, I guess. Right, Patty? It'd be decades.
More than I'd like to admit.
But she was my model to follow with just being very professional, being very diligent, great follow-up, and just researching and understanding her content. And we met at Baker University in our master's program.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Stephen Douglas challenged me on more than one occasion. And challenge is how you learn and how you grow. And so, the two of us have been learning and growing for a long time.
We have, absolutely. So learning and growing is a foundation, I think, of our friendship. We love the learning, love growing process. And Patty's all over it. Has always been all over it. I've always admired, just her diligence and the way she's just been on top of things and understands, dealing with people and her professionalism. And she's just a fabulous individual and a fabulous person. And I've had the pleasure of knowing her for all these years. I'm so glad to finally be working closely with her. So Patty works with us at the Home Loan Expert now too.
Yep, that's right. And Stephen, I appreciate the opportunity. And when I found out I was going to get the chance to work with you daily and really build a strong team, I was so excited because there's a certain synergy, when you already know that you are a team, and that propels you forward. And I think we do that with each other. And Carlos, everything I've heard about you and watched you and observed you saying and doing, and what I know from Stephen, you're a dynamic individual and you fit well. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from you already.
Yeah. So Carlos, so Patty invited me one time a while ago to something called the Executive Experience Leadership program. And she knew my level of competitiveness as well as my desire to learn. And so that was probably one of I've been to a lot of training and module sessions and stuff like that, simulations, but that was probably the best I've ever been to. Patty, we want to talk a little bit about that, because I was just stoked and grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, I had the opportunity and the good fortune to work for a company called the Leadership Development Company for many years, and we did the leadership experience for managers, and then we do the executive experience that Stephen was talking about. For upper level managers, movers, shakers, people who were really looking to propel. And it's a simulation experience. It is not 5 days worth of lectures and taking notes and that type of thing and PowerPoint slides. There are a few PowerPoint slides, but it is a simulation experience of what happens when you're given a number of variables in the workplace, how you resolve issues, how you propel yourself ahead and your team, most importantly, and then how you achieve results, because that's what it all boils down to, really, is how do you achieve results? How does your team achieve results? How do you lead them to do that? And so we guide them through what can be a fairly frustrating experience based on real world scenarios. It is unique. There is nothing like it out there. And you basically sink or swim. And I'm proud to say that Stephen Fennell swam and swam well.
So how long have you been doing that?
I am no longer doing that, but I did do that I was fortunate enough to do that for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the primary founders of the company have gone on to other things. One of them retired, and the others are teaching and working within the community right now. So they enjoyed the ride, I know, and it was a lot of fun. And through Rockhurst College, you can still access the executive experience.
Oh.
Yeah. And so if anyone is interested in that, just give me a shout or give Fennell a shout, and we'll get you hooked up with the right people.
Yeah, it was fabulous. It was a simulation of a business, right? Creating a business and determining how you're going to build your product, where you're going to build your product, where you're going to sell your product, and so on and so forth. And once I sat through that first day and realized that it was like a simulation, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be fun. Yeah, I love stuff like that. You know what I mean? When you can learn and educate and do the hands-on, but yet just learn. I love that stuff.
Oh, it was fun. I was like, I hated to see it end. When Friday rolled around, I was like, oh man, can we just keep this going for another week?
Doing it every so often, or yeah.
It was a lot of fun. But Patty, I know you probably had to do a lot of following up to, get people in those classes and stuff like that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And follow-up was key. I mean, you're talking about asking a person, a company, a manager to not only spend the money for the course, but to be away from work for a week. And so, the investment's high. And so following up is the only way we got people in those chairs and in those simulations. And, word of mouth was our biggest and best advertisement. Once people took the course, they went back and told their coworkers. And, our hope was to be able to go into companies and give this at an executive level to all the executives and to the management in all levels, so that the company was on the same train, going the same direction. Mm-hmm. And follow-up was absolutely the key, not just with getting someone in the course, but with learning the company itself and what its goals were and how we could help them. So, on the phone every single day. And you know what? It was a pleasure to talk to so many different people who had the same unique need to, get results. And so, to me, follow-up is getting results. I hear you guys talk about it week after week, and they're really, it's not some magic formula. You got to dial. You got to get in here.
But it's not rocket science either. You know what I mean? It's not hard to do either. It's just you got to do it. It certainly
isn't. It's just talking to people. It truly is. It's talking to people. And more importantly, it's listening to them. And you can hear what they need. Whether it's, a mortgage, whether it's, improving results at work. It's the same idea, talk, listen, give solutions.
That's good. That's very good. Absolutely. So Patty, right now you're doing something that I think is pretty darn cool. And obviously I think we're going to see some really good results from it, but talk a little bit about the disciplines required, and the organization that, that you take and your approach to being organized. Cause that's the one thing to me that's always been very impressive, in working with you, is you just always been very organized and had a process. And had a plan and just executed the heck out of doing things. So talk a little bit about that, because I think that's part of the challenges that maybe some of us face with following up. We're not organized. We don't have a plan. We don't have an approach, and so can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's something I think you really can add a lot of value.
Thanks. Yes. Well, I will say this. The Excel sheet is my friend. I'm sure there are other faster methods these days, but, I started out with an Excel sheet and I tracked my leads on it. And I think, Stephen, you have one too. Mm-hmm. So I think the first part of that process is having a tracking system for your leads that works for you. And you need to be able to make notes. You need to be able to understand every conversation that you've had. Every email needs to be put there. so that when you are following up, you have that information at your fingertips. You can spend 30 seconds, to a minute reviewing it before you make the call. And that it makes it so much easier to talk to people and to get them to talk to you. And so, some device that you can record everything by lead and look at the status and understand, who do I need to call today? And what have we talked about in the past? Have I even talked to them yet? Have I left multiple messages? Have I done emails, follow up, all of that. And you can kind of guide your approach by that. And then I think the second thing that is very important is to have measurable results. So in a measurable plan. So the plan leads to the measurable results. So in other words, maybe my goal for Friday follow-up is to call, 50 leads. And, part of those may be realtors. Part of those might be schools, elementary schools, because we're doing a teacher appreciation program right now. And we're taking bagels into the school and just, leaving flyers, kind of talking to the teachers, letting them know what we're going to offer for them in terms of an incentivized program to do a refi or do a loan with us. So the important thing is that who am I going to follow up with? How many calls am I going to make today on that follow-up list? And you got to prioritize it too. How hot is that lead? How much does this lead need to be touched because it hasn't been touched for a while? And then the final thing is looking at your measurable results. So, perhaps during the month of April, let's say Stephen and Carlos, let's say you called 300 people and talked to them. You really grinded it out in that month. And, look at, out of that 300 people, how many people responded? How many people did you get business from? It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results. The important thing to remember when you're doing those calls, when you're placing that follow-up, is you're planting seeds. You're planting seeds. And that rain may not, that plant may not bloom. The rain might be, not non-existent for a while. But, next year you walk in, you get an email from, the niece of a teacher you talked to at Deerfield Elementary School, a year and a half ago. And her aunt said, hey, this is the person you need to go with if you're going to, go ahead and finally make that step and buy that first home.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's patience. There's patience required. But, basically it is tracking, understanding priority, making those calls, actually doing that work, getting in there, being involved with your leads. And then it's measuring to see how things are going. And if you need to, change your tactic. Or change your tactic with certain populations, teachers don't have a lot of money. They're not going to typically be buying $1 million home. Right. But you get 4 teachers, 5 teachers, and eventually, they add up to $1 million. So it's really having patience with the results as well.
I love the fact that you said, what was the reference to the harvest? The harvest, and it might
planting the seeds, yeah.
Planting the seeds. It might not rain, it might not grow tomorrow, but at some point in time, because this is what Carlos and I talk about too. Carlos said he dropped some flyers when he first came here, and people are still walking in with those flyers. He's like, it's from years ago.
I mean, you planted those seeds, and it sounds like the roots are very strong,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you got to keep doing it. You can't stop. I mean, I do it. I printed thousands and thousands of flyers. It wasn't. I did probably. I tried to print at least 100 a week. And and I would get all 100 of those out, some way, somehow, I would keep them in one of those expandable, keep them in one of my expandable, and my bag, this is what I keep it in. This is my flyers right here. All my flyers.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I got different flyers. I mean, I always have these printed and I'm always sending them out,
That's awesome.
I make a bunch, I fill up my binder, and then I just keep handing them out every so often, and I probably have 500 flyers here right now.
Just to keep with you.
Just to keep with me, Yeah. I would keep 100 at a time, and then, I'd keep them in my car, and then they would get kind of ruined if I don't get rid of them right away, but you got to always do it, and I keep them in this binder, this thing now, and then every place I stop, I'm like always handing out flyers. Just walk into a place, or, just walk in somewhere and let people know who I am and what I do. You don't have to, it's planting that seed, you don't have to sell. Even those places that have no soliciting, I'm not soliciting anything. I'm just letting people know what I do and who I am,
Sometimes it's not a hard sell, it's relationship building, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes just shaking somebody's hand, well, when it's safe to do so, or elbow, bump, whatever, and just saying, hey, I'm Patty. I live here in this community, and I've watched your business, grow, and I'm really just excited to meet you. Just wanted to let you know about this, and give you this flyer. And I mean, it's really that simple. It's, we're not talking about, hard sell here. We're talking about relationship building, and that's what you're doing, Carlos. And obviously that's paying off well for you.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the biggest part. Like when I first started, I'm like, I just gotta I didn't try to sell anything. I walked into, and you can't sit there and talk to people forever because it takes up your day, So you got to make it short and sweet. I said, I'm Carlos with Melon Copy Plus in Overland Park right down the street, or, where I was. I'm like, I'm on 127th and Antioch. I'm letting you know that we do printing. We print business cards, flyers, brochures. We do window graphics, wall murals. And, we can help you with any printing needs that you need. And I leave a flyer, and I'm like, you can call me anytime if you guys need some help, or, and then I move on. If I get to the right person, the main person, the owner, I always ask, who are you? Or I collect a business card too. I always collect a business card, because then that way you know where you're at and who to follow up with.
That's right. Who to find out.
Yeah. I collected. I have so many, you don't even want to see the amount of business cards that I have from collecting, I mean, I've collected them and I still have them. I didn't throw them away, but they're in like those UPS flat rate boxes, those square boxes. I have one of those completely full, from bottom to top, of business cards.
You can hand those in now on your computer.
I know.
That might be quite the job, though, with that many.
He taught me how to do that with the tool that I've been using.
I can scan it with the phone, but then there's those scanners that you could just you can put it in there and it scans through and it goes in. And I didn't get one yet, but I usually put them in. See, that my biggest thing is when I get them at the end of the day, even if I have 5 or 10, I put them in my system. I just type them in.
Yeah.
And then I just put in the box.
So they're already in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I was for a while buying binders. So
yes, I did that. I did that back in the early days. Yeah.
Business card sample book. I put sample book because, we've printed a lot of them, but that's all I got, little pages, and I got full of business cards. This is just people that I've dealt with.
Wow.
Wow.
And I started buying these things, and then it got buying these things all the time, so I just throw them in a box. but yeah, for a while there, I was staying organized and putting them in, little binders. But yeah, this is all the people that, I've dealt with over the years,
That's organization, but it's you mentioned something about relationship building, and that's what you're establishing, and that's what Tony talked about with his comment. I love how he said, hey, one of his biggest deals was on a handshake, right? It was all based on the relationship. If my handshake isn't good enough, but how do you get to that point to where, your handshake is good enough? And that's consistent follow up, being there, building the relationship to where, you get to that point. And so I love that comment. I wanted to post that because it's great. He's right. It's like, hey, listen, if my handshake isn't good enough, hey, I don't know what else we're doing, but that's what we're doing. We're building relationships, and so the follow up allows us to, establish a rapport, with them to where they'll feel comfortable, right, Patty? To when it does rain and the thing pops up, it's like, yeah, I feel comfortable with this person. I like how Carlos always says, what do you say, Carlos? If they like you,
trust in you, and believe in you, they'll buy from you.
Buy from you, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I listen to you guys every week, and there's no doubt that you guys, have that down pat.
Yeah.
and your emphasis on it is,
that's the biggest thing is that if they don't, if they have to like you, if they like you as a person, I break it down. If they like you as a person and they trust you, they trust what you say, they trust what you do, they trust you. Your people have got to trust you. There's some people out there that don't trust them because maybe they're not experienced. Maybe they don't, maybe you don't have all the knowledge, or maybe they're more experienced than you are. Sometimes they are, but they got to like you and they got to trust you. And they got to believe in what you're saying. They got to believe in you, they got to believe in what you're doing. They got to, you don't just, they got to believe it, and then they'll buy from you, and people don't realize is that it's all about the relationship, and it's all about, following up with these people and grinding and meeting people, like you. I love it. That's why I said to you, was it last week or the week before, that I love the fact that you guys are putting those out there, because that's the way it still works. It's not old school. You know what I mean? It still works. And I would love to find out how it goes for you guys, and the biggest part is you might not get results today.
No.
It might be 6 months from now, it might be 1 year, but I'm curious to see what you guys get out of it, because you will. And I just want to hear it. I want people to see it.
Stephen is a perfect example of putting into place, building blocks that will grow. We get in the mortgage industry, which I am a baby, an infant, just learning. But the principle of follow up, that doesn't change through industries. I mean, that's how you succeed. Mm-hmm. And with Stephen, I really like it that right from the get-go, when someone applies for a loan, and we look at their particulars, and let's say that maybe their credit rating just isn't where it ought to be right now to get a new home loan or refi. Stephen works with that person anyway and helps them understand what they need to do to help bring up their credit, and encourages them to come back to us in 6 months, in a year, and try again when their circumstances have changed. But he doesn't just leave them out there in the lurch to change their circumstances. He gives them advice on how to do that. And, that builds a very strong relationship when you just simply want to see that other person succeed and reach their goal, and you can help them. And it may not be today, but it will happen. And the first person that they're going to pick up the phone when they have improved their credit rating and their circumstances are a little bit better, it's Stephen. They're going to call him right away and say, hey, I've done this, and this, and things are looking good. Let's try this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I used to work for, I work for Sprint, of course, but I also work for a company called Platform Advertising. And I love John Van Fleet and Dave Admire and Michael Platt. And those guys, those guys said, the answer is not no. The answer is not yet, and let's see if we can figure out a way to get it done. And I love that because they instilled that as in their culture, right? They were really big on raving fans, and that was a book that they handed to everyone as they started in orientation. And it was like, hey, the answer is not no. It's like, well, maybe not yet, but let's see how we can figure out a way to do it. And that just kind of really, just melded really well with my personality because, I mean, you guys know me. I don't know the words. No doesn't. No is not even a word for me.
Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? I know when I started with my little 2-year-olds, when they told me no, it didn't exist. You know what I mean? You don't say no.
That's right.
That's a little different, but
no, you're right though. You're right. It's like,
but it's my feeling. It's the way I've lived. I was 22 years old when I had kids. You know what I mean? And they were telling me no, and it was the same exact thing. It's my beliefs on everything. I use my sales all my life. I've used my sales experience in my personal life, and my business life. It's just, no, you don't say no. That's just like now. I have a 16-year-old that I'm trying to get him to say I can't. Stop saying I can't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's not that you can't, it drives me nuts when I hear people like, I can't get business, or I can't get this to work, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. It's just like that. And when he says, I can't do this homework, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, you don't say can't. I learned that when I was his age, or when I was 7, I learned you can't say can't, because you have the ability to do this. You have the ability to get the business. All you got to do is go and shake hands, go meet people, drop stuff off. It drives me nuts when people say that they can't get business or they can't make this work.
Yeah.
Because of laziness,
Yeah. I raised a teenage son, and I'm familiar with the I can't regarding homework and other such matters. And one thing that I learned with him is when he says, I can't, it's his way of saying, help me get it done. And so that's when I sat down with him and said, okay, so what part of the homework is causing you problems? Let's break this down. Let's take this elephant bite by bite, and let's see what missing knowledge you need to be able to get it done. And that translates completely into what all of us do, which is, oh my God, I've got, 100 leads passed to me this week. I'm never going to get these calls made. Yeah, you are. And yes, you can. It is just simply a matter of breaking it down into the bits.
And another thing you said before is like the breaking down and the I can't, and it's possible to do it. It's just possible to meet these people. You can't say that. You don't say that, because it's a mindset. If you put it in your mind like that, then it's going to be, you're not going to do it.
That's right.
You're not going to learn it.
That's right. I can't really I can't is a phrase saying I'm scared to, I don't have the tools I need more information, I need to talk it out. I need to figure out how to break it down so it's not so overwhelming. That's what I can't means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right, Patty. It's like long ago, one of the sales guys that I used to listen to would say, no is really just a request for more information.
That's right.
When they say no, it's like, well, then maybe you don't understand enough. Let me give you some more information.
The no, when I was when I first started in the car business, I own my own detail shop and window tang, and then I got into the sales part of the cars. I've always been interested in cars since I was a kid, since I was 16 years old, and I got in the car business, I got into sales, and I listened to these people, and that's how I learned everything. But I listened to the negative, and I listened to the no's, and I listened to the they can't, I heard a lot, they can't buy anything. So, or, I saw so many people get a credit app from somebody. They instantly, here, come on in, let's see if you can buy something. And you don't want to do that, but I saw it happen. They'd get a credit app, and then they'd be like, oh, nope, they can't buy anything. And so they would go back out and say, nope, there's nothing we can do for you. And then they would move on. And it drove me crazy. I was like, what are you doing? And so then that turned every single person. I turned, when I figured out that they couldn't buy anything, I figured out a way for them to buy something, because I wasn't going to let those people go, no matter if they can or can't buy it. I was never going to let those people go. And I would try to figure out a way to sell them a car or help them out. That's the biggest part. If they can't buy now, they're not going to go to somebody else and buy it. They're not going to go to this person and buy, because they're going nowhere. So all they're going to do is get shot down, and discouraged, and think they're not good people or something's wrong. I always say, I learned a little saying when I was young, bad things happen to good people.
Absolutely.
And when bad things happen to good people, you don't want them to get discouraged, because that's where, they get mad, they get upset, they get angry with people, suicide comes in, all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's my biggest thing is I've always wanted to learn to help as many people as I possibly can. And by not letting them go, and by not letting them go I wanted them as a long-term client. So that's another way of building up that pipeline for you, Stephen. And another way for these people, that's why I did it in the car business. I found somebody that can help them fix their credit. If, I figured out when I got into finance, I've learned that, hey, I can help these people, I can help. I can figure out a way to, hey, if they need this paid off or they need this paid off, I got creative. It wasn't, I looked at their credit score and I looked at their debt to income, they can't buy anything. What could help? There were some people that just needed to pay off a credit card and they could buy a car.
Right.
It just, there were so many things that I did to keep a bad credit or tough credit or somebody that didn't have any credit. You figure out a way to get them to buy a vehicle, or they buy a house, or buy something. You got to keep with them and help them and figure out a way and do that process. And there's a lot of people that will just blow them off. Nope, you can't do anything. Move on.
No should always be replaced with not yet, and let me help you with a roadmap to get to yes.
Yeah,
right. That's right. Absolutely. I agree. It only takes a minute. I was just typing that in. We have to be invested in helping people, helping them grow and helping them, get to where they want to go. And you're right, Patty. It's like, well, how can I help? Right? How can I help? And then let's follow up to make sure we get you to where you want to go. And, listen, let me tell you something. We have all worked in different places and in different capacities, and we've all had the opportunity of the satisfaction of helping people get what they want to get. And, I firmly believe that, if I can help someone, get to where they want to go, it makes me feel good to see them happy as well. Right. I mean, I get satisfaction just out of seeing people be happy. It's like Christmas Day. You know what I mean?
What's that saying? What did I say before? It's, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. And so true. Yeah. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
That relationship building isn't just good for you in business. It's good for you as a person. It makes you understand that you have something to offer, and seeing other people benefit from that is enormously important to keep you going, to keep you on track. And, when you go back into your personal life after the end of the workday, you still take that that feeling of accomplishment and helping others with you. And that is incredibly important for your own well-being, and to keep your motivation going.
Yeah. It's a motivation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Patty, as well as I do, and Carlos, the same thing. The best thing to do sometimes when things may not be going the way that we want them to go is to get out of ourselves and help other people.
Yep.
When we focus on other people, we ain't got to focus on anything but helping other people. It takes care of 99% of my problems at the very least.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My mind is a dangerous place to walk alone. And so I need to focus on others and see action rather than letting myself spend too much time alone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great feeling. I know that. I know when you're stuck, people have their downs, or when you're stuck, or you're having a bad day. If you help enough other people, if you help people, it changes your day.
It does.
And I probably that's probably what gets me in trouble, is the fact that I'm focused on helping other people, and it's hard to keep up with my stuff, so but that's what comes around. It'll all come around, and then you just got to keep building like me, I got to keep building my people, because you got to keep it going, if you can't do it all yourself because you're helping other people and things come around, it comes around,
Oh yeah. And, I think that Carlos, something that I hear week after week that you do is you are out there in your community. You are out there. You are getting to know people, getting to see what they do. And you are in circumstances where personally you might never meet people like that. You might never mix with that population or those specific interests. For instance, what do I have in common with elementary teachers? I don't have a child in school anymore. But what I do know is that teachers are an important building block for everything in our society. They teach our children. We entrust them with our greatest treasures.
Yeah.
And so, the past few weeks, I've had the opportunity to go to the schools, just drop off some bagels and a few flyers and say, we really appreciate what you do. And I've had the opportunity to meet some of the educators here in Lawrence, and what fine people they are. And just that opportunity to be able to mix with them and say, hey, we appreciate what you do, because they're not appreciated enough at all.
Sure.
And so now I have a big interest in some of the schools around here, in fact, next fall, I've been invited to a football game at Lawrence High. So you just never know where you'll go.
Right.
Dr. Seuss is right. All the places you'll go.
And just because you don't have a child in the school system doesn't mean that you don't know what you've gone through, what those teachers go through. Hey, maybe there's something that you can help with to make it better. I know that I'm a few years out from having no kids in school, and I'm still watching the school systems and trying to help them out as more now than I ever have. Even when I had all 5 of my kids in school, I've learned that, man, they're going through a lot. There's a lot of things that need to be helped. There's a lot, I learned, just because you don't start helping out, or you're doing it after you have a child that's gone out of school, better late than never, being giving back and helping. It's great. It's a great opportunity. You learn what they need. And then now it's time to help.
Absolutely. And teachers, sorry for that echo. Teachers are asked to do so much. Their day is very long. I remember as a young student in elementary school thinking, what a great job, man. They get off at 3:30, No.
9 months out of the year. I was married to a teacher. I know what it's like. 9 months out of the year, they're off at 3:00. I'm like, what do you got going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was married to a PE teacher, so.
Well, it's there's so much more than meets the eye. And like you said, helping out in the community comes back to you, and being able to help them through what you do for work is also, it just adds to that whole social connection, and it keeps you going. There's a purpose in why we follow up, and there should be enjoyment in following up. Mm-hmm. Like I already have a client, Fennell and I do, and I just enjoy talking to him when I'm, we're talking to each other a lot because, he's trying to accomplish something with us, and, he loves plants, and I have a black thumb. And so he's been giving me instructions every time we're on a phone call about, business. And I love that because we built a personal connection through that. And when you think that way,
that is the exact reason why this Follow-Up Friday, this follow-up is so cool. It's like people don't make it. Like, that's why I keep saying, it's like, get on that phone and call those people, because you can meet people that have the same interest as you.
Yeah.
I met somebody, I was in front of somebody that, yesterday that is doing more investments, they know how to pay off a house, in a short amount of time. There's a lot of cool things that this guy knows that grew my interest, because that's what I want to learn. I want to learn, more investing, more apartments, more real estate investing, and it's an interest that I have. And I met them yesterday, and it was cool. I met him face to face, and I have that interest. I met somebody that does a ton of boating, and I want to learn how to wakeboard. I've skied when I was a young kid. I want to get skiing again at the age of 40. You know what I mean? And I want to get into the boats, and I met somebody that's in boating the other day, so you just never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
Just by calling and following up and building that relationship instead of trying to sell them something all the time.
Right. And we're not selling anything, right? We're building relationships. At some point in time, if they need our services, great. It's funny. I would call people and say, hey, listen, when I have my transmission business, they say, well, you'll do this. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll come pick you up. I'll cut your grass. What do you need? You don't need a transmission fix right now. That's okay. What do you need? At some point in time, they're going to know someone that's going to need our services. And if we're genuine, if we're really trying to build a relationship with them, we'll get the opportunity, to help them at some point in time. And that's really all it's about.
Yes.
In another industry that I worked in, follow-up again was absolutely key. And I had a potential client, and, a person that I followed up with regularly. She never said more than 5 words to me. Never. It was almost like every time I called, I felt like she was like, oh God, not her again. I'm just going to be silent. And this went on for a year. Hey, I'm just touching base, seeing how you're doing. I'm fine.
Wow, that's got to be a hard conversation.
Those can be really rough. Those can be tough. And I just kept at it. I kept at it until she even jokingly said, oh, it's you again. But I got something more from her.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, our company ended up closing a, $7 million deal with her company. She called me up one day and said, you know what? Can you do this? And I'm like, yes. Not only can we do this, but we can do this and this and this as well.
Right.
And she's like, can you come up and talk to us about it? Yeah. So, even the most difficult conversations plant seeds that, might surprise the heck out of you.
Yeah. And that's why I said last week, I had a grumpy guy that I was calling, and I'm like, ooh, I got to turn this conversation differently because I just can't, I wanted to deal with this person. I do, you know what I mean? But like I told you guys all before, it's like, if they treat you bad, then I understand, nobody needs to be mistreated, but this guy, I always try to cheer people up. And, this grumpy old man was just tough to talk to. And I knew in my mind, I'm like, I got to get this guy happy or laugh or something. And I did, and I met with him, and it's going good now. He's not grumpy anymore. He talks to me normal. He's a normal person, but for some reason, he was real grumpy at me at the beginning. It was just like that short, grumpy person,
Yeah.
And I had to get him to laugh. And now he calls me up and has fun with me. He goofs around with me. And I turned a grumpy man into somebody that calls me up and teases me.
That's awesome.
And so that's the way it's working right now. And that's good. You got to do it.
I told you about my guy, Mr. Blythe, down in Texas, Carlos, that, we still haven't done anything. He's still looking, real nice guy. And we talk baseball and like that, and, Patty, Mr. Blythe.
Yes.
You spoke to him.
Mm-hmm. I did. Indeed.
Yeah. That's the baseball guy. Yeah.
It was a birthday call or just a follow-up check-in call, right, Patty?
That's right. And I wish I would have known that he was into baseball. I'll have to look at your notes more closely because, I can talk college basketball with anybody.
And baseball too. Patty's been on the stadium in the MLB.
Yeah. I used to I had a job where I traveled. And so I always tried to make sure that I went to a baseball game or went to at least see the baseball arena or park. It just became fun. It made the travel more bearable for me. And it just added such a fun component to life and something you definitely can converse with other people about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything, any reason. I automatically just start in with when I talk to somebody new, I'm getting in. Oh yeah, that was like the grumpy guy. I forgot about this guy. I told you that he was really grumpy, and then it's like you got to figure out a way to, loosen him up. If you can come up with something in common or something that he does or they do. And this grumpy guy, man, he was, I forgot now that I remember, he was just real short with me and grumpy. And now he calls me up and is silly with me. But he specifically was talking about the Dallas Cowboys stadium. And I've been to I don't go to them. It's a cool opportunity to go to those stadiums, or to go to the baseball, fields. I mean, it is cool and people don't realize it. I know it's MLB or NFL or whatever, but it's pretty cool to see those places. And I went to the field and I toured it and went through the locker rooms. And he happened to do that too. So that was one thing that broke the ice. It was.
Core building, baby.
Yeah, it broke the ice. And now that you said the field, I'm like, oh yeah, I had just talked to somebody about that. Well, yeah, it was that grumpy guy. And it just happened to be that person. That's how, and I was happy. And I haven't been to many NFL fields, I don't get a chance to, but I went through the Cowboys, and it was pretty cool, but he happened to be there too. And so we talked about it, but it was the old field, not the new one. I've never been to the new one, but we talked about it, and that's what broke the ice. That's amazing that you said that, and just little stuff like that.
Yeah, it can be such a connection. When my son was little in the car, he would recite, you could name a team and he could tell you the mascot, or you could name a mascot and he'd tell you the team. And this is for baseball, for football, for basketball. And that ability that he developed at a young age has helped him with his follow-up and his success in his work life and his personal life now today. I mean, he is huge into the fantasy, sports arena. He's developed friends all over the country, and contacts as well. So absolutely, that common theme, can be incredibly useful.
Absolutely can. Yeah. So, well, cool, guys. Well, listen, let me let you guys, we want to wrap up and let you guys get to your following up on Friday. I got some grinding to do as well. As we know, Friday is not the end of the week. It's the beginning of the opportunities for next week.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got a bit. I mean, today, it's like my weekend is crazy. Tonight, I got to work tonight. The photo booth is back.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, it's back. We're back doing events again. And it feels so good because, it was a nice vacation. Don't get me wrong. It was a very great vacation, 2020. I loved it. Loved every bit of it. I got so much rest. I'm all rested up, and now I'm ready to get back and doing it. But today, I got a full day today, and photo booth tonight, and two photo booths tomorrow, and it's not as busy, but with my day that I have to get everything else in, that adds to it, and this weekend is just a busy weekend for me. I'm going to be going, grinding. So it's not a weekend for me. It's just another day.
I remember a year ago, Carlos, when we talked about, taking this opportunity to ratchet up our activity as the pandemic, as we're stuck in the house, what a great opportunity it is to rack up your activity, build out, reach out, check on, because, at some point when things lift, that's just that further ahead we're going to be in terms of response to those activities. And who knew that things would lift and just boom the way they did? But anybody who took that advice and took that time when we were stuck in to really ratchet up your efforts, your social media, you're checking in on people, you're calling, you're dialing. Anyone who did that has got to be extremely busy right now.
Yeah, anyone that did it. And I'm telling you, there's people that didn't. There's people that took off. I personally know people that thought when that happened, they stopped. And you take advantage of it. You know what I mean? You just shift it. And it was the time, you and I, Stephen, it's like, just like I say, every holiday, there's a holiday coming up. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be texting? Are you going to be emailing? Are you getting that set up? What is it? A week or two? What is it? A week or two away?
Weeks.
Yeah. And so you got to get those emails ready. You got to get, your text ready, and you got to take advantage of all the holidays. And then like last year, it was just like, people are at home. You got to make sure everybody's doing good. It gives you a reason to call.
Mm-hmm.
Got to find a reason to call. Mm-hmm. And you got to find a reason to call them often, because you're not going to just call them every day to try to sell them something, and the reason could be, is everything going okay? How's your weekend, or what are you doing this weekend? Are you getting out, or, how's your event? Whatever they're doing, you got to figure it out. You got to find, fact find and figure it out, and then move on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know what? I mean, just checking in with people that's the basic building block of relationships. And that's what we're doing. We're building relationships. We're not selling something.
We're planting seeds. I left that quote up there as the last thing, because that's exactly what Patty was saying. We're planting seeds.
That's right.
Cool.
Pleasure,
all right,
gentlemen.
What's that?
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Let me know. I want to know those results all the time.
All right.
It's going to take years, but it could take next year, a year, 6 months, whatever. You might get something now. You're going to get something now, but then you're also going to get. I want the updates, the later on updates, because it works.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious.
Thinking.
That teacher thing is great. Is that what you guys are doing? Just teachers, and where else?
We're going to move on to, we're still going to work with the teachers here in the Lawrence community is where I'm representing. And I know Fennell, Kansas City. And Fennell probably doesn't even know this yet, but I'm moving on to our first responders. So the firefighters are getting some pizzas next week. And then we're going to work with the police officers. We're going to get them something and make connections with as many first responders as we can. We offer them a special program as well. And so, again, community appreciation. Here's what we do. Here's how we might help you either today or in the future. It's a pleasure, to meet them all and to just give them a break in their day.
It's awesome because yesterday I think I had another agent with me yesterday and we saw a police officer, a motorcycle police officer. And I'm like, hey, do you want to ask them about, I never knew anything. I don't know anything about the motorcycle police officers, what they do different or what their vehicle's like compared to the cars or what they do. And he's like, yeah. So we stopped, we turned around and I went up to the cop and I said, hey, will you show us a little bit about your motorcycle and what you do and the things, the features and all that stuff. And he's like, he's like, sure. He started, naming off things. He did his radar. There's no radar here. There's he started telling us, he's like, this is a normal motorcycle. It's not like souped up or anything. And, and it was so cool to be able to reach out to him. I think it made his day. He was like, hey, thanks for stopping by, guys. I appreciate that. And, he told us about all his stops and how many stops he has to do and how many he does. And, he told us a lot. And I think it made his day, and it made our day,
Yeah.
And just striking up that conversation, And he's like, I'm here every Thursday if you guys want to, he goes to a taco place down in Southwest Boulevard. And he goes, I'm here every Thursday if you guys want to stop by. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
I'm glad you shared that, Carlos.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good story. That's a very good story. That's what it's about, man. Like I said, we put others first. Our purpose is not to sell anyone or anything like that. Purpose is to build relationships, let people know who we are. Once they decide that they need a service, they'll remember us, think of us, consider us, refer us. It's a byproduct of what we do genuinely, and we do with humility as far as I'm concerned. Right. So that's what it's about, but cool. Okay, guys. Good. Well, listen, have a great weekend. Have a great Friday. Patty, love that you joined us finally. So appreciate it.
The pleasure was all mine. I'm so grateful for the invite. And anytime, you guys, just let me know.
We're going to bring you back for sure.
Awesome.
We love your contributions, my dear. Thank you. Thanks, Carlos.
You. Have a great weekend, everybody.
We'll see you guys.
See you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.